Hello Pokemon trainers, welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet video here on iStarly TV. Today we have another in my series against my co-host Deiter, where we do our Wi-Fi battles, what I'm calling rival battles. Basically we raise our Pokemon and battle them out. These are the Pokemon we've been using on our teams in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in our playthroughs, and we have 4 different teams each. So, because there's a lot of Pokemon we wanted to try out, especially a lot of new Pokemon. So this is our 3rd and 4th teams in this video. We already did the first 2, or I already did a video with the other 2. Let's just get right to the battle. And here we have both of our teams. This is my 3rd team again. I have a few Pokemon that I like. I know I've used them in other videos. I added a Tinkaton just because I like Tinkaton, but also it's a really good Pokemon. It's a really interesting Pokemon, at least. And then I have my Squawkabilly, who, the only reason I like Squawkabilly, I probably mentioned this in the last video with it, was because it has Hustle and it has Aerial Ace. So it has the ability that boosts its attack and then makes its move less accurate, but then it has the move that never misses in Aerial Ace. It's probably not as good as I'm hyping it up to be, but I wanted to try it out. Last battle, it was not that good. Let's see if it does anything different in this battle. He starts with his shiny Garganacl, which I've known about for a little while. And that thing's, of course, massive. Obviously, it's going to be hard for me to take that thing down. And I lead with my Cyclizar just because I know I'm fast and I have U-turn, so I can kind of U-turn into whatever I need to. I also have Shed Tail. I just wanted to try it out. I don't have Regenerator, the hidden ability, though. So that makes Shed Tail a little bit worse. However, I just decided to go for it right away just because it lets me get a free switch into something. It's a really risky play though, because it means that the next time I want to go for Shed Tail, I'm going to basically die. And also it means that Cyclizar kind of can't really take any hits for the rest of the battle. But I just wanted to kind of try it out and just have some fun here. And like I said, it basically gives me a completely free switch into my Tinkaton, because she's not going to take any damage, and he does get a critical hit, so I guess that was kind of important for me. And here obviously I'm going to scare him out. I'm going to threaten him out with the Gigaton Hammer, which is a super powerful move. And I think, let's see what I go for here. I know, sorry it's taking long. This is a post narration, post commentary. Oh, I do go for the fake out here, just either figuring it's basically free damage if he happens to stay in for whatever reason, and if he does switch, it'll get extra damage on whatever switches in. So that's what's going to happen. He's going to go into his Dunsparce, or sorry, Dunsparce, and then I'm just going to go for the Gigaton Hammer just to see how much it does. Obviously this move hits really hard, but Dunsparce is decently tanky, and he's going to survive that and then go for the Earthquake. But knowing that I'm faster and I can probably knock him out, I just go for the Play Rough here. Obviously there were a few risks there, the biggest one being that I could miss the Play Rough, but I'm pretty certain that I'd be taking him out with the, with the rest of that damage, assuming I hit. So I just went for that, figuring it was worth it. But now my Tinkaton's really low. My Cyclizar is really low. This is kind of an awkward situation, although Tinkaton does have a decent amount of speed. So I wanted to see what he would go into just to kind of scout. He does go into his Annihilate, and I was just kind of assessing the situation here. I don't really have anything that can switch into Annihilate. It just hits so hard, and with the fighting and ghost type coverage, it basically has perfect coverage. Like anything that would resist fighting or is immune to fighting doesn't want to take a ghost type move, and the opposite is also true. But I just decided, like, okay, you know what, Tinkaton's decently fast. I'm gonna go for the Play Rough and just see what happens. And luckily for me, I do outspeed him, and I get a ton of damage with the Play Rough. That's a huge situation for me because Tinkaton was low, so she probably couldn't survive too many hits left from anything else anyway. So that just puts me in a great position, just weakening this Annihilate, which is a pretty big threat on his team. So good stuff for me. Here I just go into the Squawkabilly, go for the Aerial Ace. I don't expect him to have a great switch in since his Rock type. Well, he does have the Rock type actually. Actually, I think I'm kind of remembering now, I kind of forgot about the Garganacl, but it's fine. Either way, I'm gonna go for Aerial Ace, get off a decent amount of damage on anything. I mean, except Garganacl, and just kind of see what happens beyond that point. But at the same time, I'm also pressuring him. I'm also scaring out his Annihilate, which I think is decently important as well. So he does go into the Garganacl there, and of course he's going to take that Aerial Ace extremely well. And I don't have amazing switch-ins to Garganacl. It's not that strong, but my Pokemon are not super tanky except to Dunsparce, so I don't really have too many things that want to repeatedly take like a little bit of extra damage. I think I do end up settling on the Dunsparce here, I believe. I have a few Pokemon with super effective moves for Garganacl, but I do think I'm going to end up settling on Dunsparce because or maybe not. Okay, I just go into Cyclizar there. I think just letting it die basically, because I figured he would go for the Body Press, and he knows that he can basically wall me, but he actually goes for Ice Punch, which is also super effective. I love Cyclizar. Unfortunately, I just did not play it well in this game. And right there, though, I did expect it to die there, regardless of what he went for. I just wanted to get a free switch into something else because, again, like I've been saying, the rest of my Pokemon on my team, I just don't want them to take more damage than they need to. So I'm going to go into my Quaquaval. I don't remember here, and I'm taking a little while deciding. I think I was trying to weigh the options of I was trying to plan ahead, think, okay, if I go into this Pokemon, I'm going to go for this move, he might go for this move, and then what's going to happen next, right? So I do go into Tuft. I think what I do here is a little bit trolly. Oh, no, never mind. I just go for the Volt Switch just to get off a little bit of extra damage and to kind of bait him into going for a move that would be good against Pawmot and then maybe not good against the rest of the Pokemon on my team. So we're going to see how that plays out for us here. You know, if you noticed on my Pawmot's moveset, I do have the Revival Blessing move, which whether or not that's a broken move or a move that we should or shouldn't use, you know, Deiter and I might end up discussing that because, you know, you basically get to revive one of your Pokemon for free. And that's kind of lame sometimes, but he ends up switching, which is, I guess he was afraid of the fighting type moves, which makes a lot of sense. And he goes into Rabsca, which is cool. It's cool to show off Rabsca because, you know, that's a Pokemon you don't see get a lot of love, and it's a cool Pokemon, I think. Anyways, I get a little bit of damage on it because it does have a pretty good special defense stat, I believe, but this does allow me to get into something for free, and I think this is going to be a Quaquaval's time to shine, right? I have Acrobatics there. I also have Bait, my Dunsparce, with the Poison type Terra, which I like a lot because obviously Dunsparce is weak to fighting, and if I Terra Poison, I resist it, so that's awesome. Either way, this is going to let me go for the Acrobatics. I'm not sure he was expecting this. He might not be, although he has a Quaquaval of his own, so it probably has Acrobatics as well. If you saw the previous video with Deiter and I battling each other with our teams, I one-hit KO'd his Quaquaval with Psyshock because he wasn't expecting it. And here I'm just gonna one-hit KO his Rabsca with Acrobatics, presuming he's maybe not expecting that. So good stuff here. Now he goes into his... I forgot the name of this Pokemon. Oh yeah, Bombardier, or Bombardier, however you want to say it. And this Pokemon's actually pretty scary too. I think I was trying to look at our speed stats just to see if I'd be faster. And I was trying to assess what to do at this point because once again, a lot of the Pokemon on my team just don't want to take too many hits. So I was trying to think obviously the best Pokemon to go up against his Bombardier is the Pawmot, but I can't freely switch into that without it taking too much damage. So what I ended up deciding to do here was a little bit aggressive. I ended up terastallizing into Terra Water and going for the Aqua Step, knowing that if I Terra Water, it's going to remove my flying type weakness. So even if he outspeeds me, sure, I'll take a decent chunk of damage, but it won't be super effective for what it's worth. I also figured he wouldn't go for the the dark type move because I was a fighting type and I would resist it. So this lets me just get off it actually doesn't do as much damage as I'd expected, but I am at +1 speed now and I'm Terra Water. He goes for Acrobatics, which actually does a lot of damage, but I'm in a really strong position now because my Aqua Steps are going to be hitting really hard. And his Pokemon that was previously probably the most threatening, the Garganacl, is not going to be that much of a threat anymore because I have these Terra Water boosted Aqua Steps. So this puts me in a pretty strong position, I would say. And let's see, I know for sure he has the Garganacl, obviously. I'm trying to think of which other Pokemon he has. There's probably a couple he hasn't revealed yet in this battle, but just trying to think about, you know, how to navigate the rest of this battle. But having that Terra Water boost from Quaquaval is a really strong position, and Quaquaval is a really strong Pokemon. You know, it's not as fast as you'd like it to be, but it has really strong coverage in close combat, Acrobatics, and Aqua Step, so it can hit all its bases pretty well. So here he is thinking. I'll just kind of skip ahead if he takes too long here. And now he goes into Arctibax, which is also fine with me because that's an Ice type, which is going to be weak to Low Sweep. I couldn't find the Close Combat TM, and that's actually something else that I wanted to mention with these battles was I was trying to look for good TMs and I just couldn't really find them. So that's why I don't have a really good fighting type move. I know it's kind of awkward, but I was looking for the close combat TM and I just had to settle on low sweep. Here he's going to end up terastallizing. I think that's going to be Terra Dragon. Let's see, I kind of forgot. It is Terra Dragon. I think he's still going to take decent damage from low sweep, but obviously it's not going to be super effective anymore, so it's not going to do as much as it otherwise would have, and it means he's probably going to return the favor and knock me out with a super strong dragon type move. So, you know, good on him. I also like Arctibax a lot as well, and Terra Dragon's just a really solid type just because dragon in general is a good type. So he takes out my Garganackle counter. But I do have a few other Pokemon left. As we saw earlier, he was afraid of the Pawmot with his Garganackle, so we'll see how that ends up playing out here. I'm just going to go ahead and decide to go into, I believe, the Squawkabilly. My thought process here was I thought he'd be a little less likely to switch here because he already terastallized, but at the same time, yeah, I just go Brave Bird here, just figuring I'm just going to, like, you know, suicide my Squawkabilly, just get off as much damage as possible. I think at this point I was like okay with just spamming Brave Bird until I kill things or until I go down myself. But luckily for me, he actually stays in, which I think might not have been the best play. Maybe he figured with his Arctibax, like, it's weak, it's not that strong, it's at -1 speed, it's already taken some damage. So maybe he just figured like it wasn't gonna, he didn't have a good switch into this anyway, although he did. So who knows what Deiter was thinking there. But at this point, like I said, I think I'm just gonna spam Brave Bird until I go down. Just try to get off as much damage on this thing as possible. And right there, the Hustle ends up coming into play because I missed my Brave Bird. So once again, Hustle boosts the power of your attack stat, but it lowers the accuracy of your moves. So that was pretty unfortunate on my part, but this is going to let me get in my Pawmot, who again is going to threaten out his Garganackle. But also what I do here, I told him, I texted him, I was like, watch this. And I go for a Revival Blessing, and I think I revived Tinkaton. Again, this battle was a little while ago, a few days ago, so I kind of forgot exactly how everything plays out. But either way, I'm going to go for the Revival Blessing here, get something back. And I don't think his Garganackle has too many things that are going to like hurt me that bad as Pawmot. And once again, being Pawmot, I have the close combat to threaten his Garganackle. So like I said, I am going to revive the Tinkaton. I just felt like she was the best at dealing damage to all his Pokemon, but also taking hits decently well. And as a little consolation prize, I do also live that Earthquake, which is going to let me get off a close combat against his Garganackle. So I get off a lot of damage on that thing. Of course, I'm just going to go down to the next Earthquake here. And that means my last Pokemon are going to be Tinkaton and Dunsparce, my two bulkiest Pokemon. And admittedly not the two hardest hitting ones, but you know, they're still decent, right? They're still in decent shape here. I do go into Tinkaton now. And I think, do I go for Fake Out here? I didn't want to go for Gigaton Hammer because obviously the downside, the drawback to Gigaton Hammer is you cannot use it multiple times in a row. So, oh wow, that does nothing. I went for Fake Out for that little chip damage and he takes it extremely well. I think I'm just going to go Brutal Swing here, or do I take the risk and go Close Combat? I mean Play Rough, I don't remember. I guess I'd go Play Rough. After seeing how much damage that Fake Out did, I was just afraid to go for Brutal Swing in the off chance he happens to live with like 1 HP, so I just wanted to guarantee the kill. Although again, it's not a guarantee given that Play Rough could miss, so either way that ends up working out for me. His next one here is going to be the Primeape, and as long as I hit this Play Rough, actually no, this is his last one, so I do connect the Play Rough. That was actually really dumb on my part. I should have gone Gigaton Hammer there, because if I missed the Play Rough, the game is over, and that was a very, very, very winnable game. But either way, I end up winning this one, and that was a really strong play. I think at the end of the day, actually, I was going to say at the end of the day, I did not need to go for a Revival Blessing, but I think I did. Because then my last Pokemon would not be able to take on Annihilate, so that ended up mattering. But either way, that was a lot of fun. Let's go to the next one. Battle number 4, battle number 2 of this video, I mean, but battle number 4 of like all our teams. And I just went through it really quickly there, but I think I led with my Toadscruel. Sorry, that was a really quick one with the team preview. But if you saw my team, it's a really scrappy team. I even told him that, like, this fourth team of mine is kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel. But I do like all of these Pokemon in some way. I do like Toadscruel a lot, and I have Kilowattrel as well. Actually, maybe I led with my Kilowattrel, but it's funny because yeah, I have Kilowattrel, and then he has Farigiraf, which is a repeat of battle number 1 in this series, where, you know, I switched in my Farigiraf and knocked out his Kilowattrel with Hyper Beam. I didn't expect Deiter to have Hyper Beam here because I know that he, you know, the drawback for Hyper Beam is too much. I guess you could say a normal person doesn't have a Hyper Beam, and I'm not a normal person. Oh wait, actually I forgot. What ended up happening was he accidentally brought like 4 Pokemon. Sorry, so this is the wrong battle, but it's the same team. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fast forward to the start of when we redid this battle because he forgot to bring all his Pokemon. And we're starting again, same deal. I think I went for the Volt Switch. I just basically said like, we just do the same exact thing. So I just go for the Volt Switch here because it's free basically. Like, I know I'm faster than it. And if he happens to switch out, it gives me the initiative into something else. If he stays in though, we get a little bit of chip damage on the Farigiraf, and that's actually not really a little bit of damage. It's a decent chunk of damage right there. So that's a pretty good start for me. And then I do think I go into I was trying to assess which one to go into here. The thing about this team is actually pretty bulky. My team is actually decently bulky here, and that's a good thing. Like, this is my first team that's actually bulky. So I go into my Psychic Bug type, and that means I'm going to resist the Psychic type move. I thought he might go for a normal type move, so I wasn't exactly predicting that, but here I'm just going to go for the Mud Shot just to get off some damage, and also if he happens to switch, I get to lower the speed of whatever comes in. Obviously, Farigiraf's typing is such that it's immune to Shadow Ball, but I think he was actually afraid of the Bug type move, which I'll let you in on a little secret, I actually do not have. So that's kind of awkward, but this is going to let me get off. Oh, actually, of course, he goes into an Earthworm, who actually is immune to ground type moves. So that's a great thing for him. I also have an Earthworm on my team, so that's kind of fun. Here I just decided to go for the Shadow Ball just to kind of see what's going to happen here. And he actually has a Rock Slide, which is unsurprising to me. I guess I should have expected this, but also I didn't really want to switch too many things in here. Like, I do have Toadscruel, who can resist Rock Slide, but Toadscruel, the best way that it would hit a Steel type is a ground type move, and of course he's immune to those. So I go into my own Earthworm. I named it Orthopedic because I couldn't think of what to name it. And now we're kind of in a stalemate here. I have Iron Tail though, and I don't think he does. So this is gonna let me like get off chip damage a little bit at a time, maybe eventually kill him, and maybe get some defense boosts along the way. So even though this is kind of like a stalemate, he's lower on health than I am. So, you know, obviously that means that I'm likely to be knocking him out before he knocks me out. Go for that Iron Tail, just doesn't do that much damage. And then he reveals that he has Body Press, which I do not have. So that's going to be awful for me because now I do not want to stay in against this thing. That's just going to completely scare me out. Just looking at what to go into, and of course, as I said, I just really don't have that many things that can take a hit from this. I went into Crulio, I named it. Went into Crulio here, I think with the intention of going for Spore, which is kind of another cheesy move there. He goes for the Body Press, and it actually does a decent chunk of damage. I mean, Earthworm has a huge defense stat, and of course, Body Press goes off its speed stat. Actually, or defense stat, sorry. I end up deciding to go for the Hex there just to see what it does and to possibly scare him out. I also think I didn't go for the Spore just because it is kind of cheap. But we'll see. I think I may end up changing my mind here. We'll see because he was about to knock me out. So I was like, in this case, let's actually just go for that Spore and just put him to sleep and force him to switch or either way. I think I'm faster. So obviously if he doesn't switch, then, you know, yeah. Oh, wow, he's faster. Oh, I think this was the moment where I was really surprised. I guess we were speed tying that whole time by some miracle because I outsped him at first and then, I don't know, or maybe I didn't. I don't know. I forgot everything. Here, I think Tauros is a good switch for me, but I just didn't want it to be too obvious, but also like, if there's a chance I don't kill with Tauros, then I'm in a really bad spot. And this Earthworm is just tearing up my team. I never thought I'd hear myself say that because Earthworm's just a purely defensive Pokemon for the most part, but this thing is doing a lot of damage. I go into my Kilowattrel. Luckily, his Earthworm is low enough that this should knock it out because Orthworm has a massive defensive stat, but a not very good special defense stat. So I figured that any move I go for could knock him out. And I do go for the Volt Switch on the off chance that he switches into something and gives me that initiative. And then I go right into Rabska, figuring it's slow and it's at 20 HP. So just about anything he goes into is going to knock it out. So this lets me get a little bit of momentum here after he knocks out my Rabska. And if by some miracle he doesn't knock me out or something, I can use Revival Blessing and bring something back to life. So we'll see what happens here. He goes into Flipper, who is his own Palafin. So that's scary, right? If you saw the previous battle, you know, between Deiter and I, you'll know that my Palafin, I guess spoiler alert, was very, very good against his team. So Palafin is just overall a terrifying Pokemon. I do have the Kilowattrel to kind of balance it out, to outspeed it and get off a lot of damage. But the thing about Palafin, obviously this is going to force him to switch. The thing about Palafin is it wants to switch out anyway, because that's how it gets its ability going. And I am not in a good spot right here. I think I do end up going for Volt Switch, figuring he was going to switch and just getting that initiative. So Kilowattrel is doing a lot of work for me. It's helping me out a lot here. And of course he's going to switch because all those reasons I just named. And he's going to go into his own Toedscruel, which means I am not going to do anything here with this Volt Switch. Now, that's a good play on his part. That's pretty smart on his part. But at the same time, I do have Air Slash. If I had somehow miraculously predicted that, you know, that could have been really bad for him. But here, I make a weird play and go for the Uproar, just wondering if he was going to go for the Spore. This ends up being an extremely costly play on my part. I go for the Uproar. I Terra Flying. I think Terra Flying was kind of a mistake. I think I was going to go Terra Flying and go Air Slash, but then I thought if there's some chance that he goes for the Spore, I don't want him to put me to sleep, so I just go Uproar. That ends up, like I said, that ends up being just a huge mistake. I should have gone Air Slash there. There was actually just no reason to go Uproar. I probably would have just knocked him out with the Air Slash, or I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have, I don't know. But either way, I forgot that Uproar actually locks me into it. And that's just, again, just awful for me because he goes into Revavroom, who's going to do some decent damage to me. And now I'm just stuck here, like getting a little bit of damage on him with the Uproar, but taking a ton of damage with the Poison Jab. So he's just going to knock me out right here. And again, that was a huge misplay on my part. Kilowattrel was such an important member of my team. The fact that he had Toedscruel was huge for him because if he didn't have a ground type there, Kilowattrel probably would have just shred through his team with my strong electric type moves, especially that Palafin. But man, yeah, I ended up making that really huge misplay. I don't know why I did it. I guess since my Toedscruel had Spore and I was about to go for it, I just thought his would as well. So I was like, I don't want him to put me to sleep. I'm just going to Uproar to prevent anyone from sleeping. But I forgot that it actually locked you into it. So bad stuff all around there. I just go into Tauros here. Obviously Tauros is the obvious switch. I think the reason I didn't go for it right away was because I thought maybe I could use that Intimidate later on against his Palafin. But I mean, the thing about Palafin, of course, is that it's a water type, so it's gonna be really good against my Tauros anyway. So yeah, I just go for the Flame Charge here, thinking, you know, I can get a speed boost. Tauros is already pretty fast, so if I can get a speed boost here, I'll be faster than basically anything else he has. And Tauros hits pretty hard as well, so I like where this is with Tauros. He's thinking a long time here. He has 5 Pokemon left to my 3, so obviously he's in a really good spot right now. And he ends up going for Zen Headbutt. He ends up being faster than me. And nothing's going right here, but luckily for me, I am able to, or I do not flinch, and I'm able to knock him out with the Flame Charge. Naturally, Tauros is faster than Revavroom, I think, so that was good for him to be faster than me. But I knock him out, get that speed boost, and then obviously Palafin is going to be a nightmare for me to deal with now, but I'm hoping that I can hopefully take on the rest of the Pokemon he has with the remaining Pokemon that I have. And he does end up going to that Palafin, and I am just terrified. Given that his Revavroom was faster, his Palafin is likely faster than my Tauros as well. So I was trying to think what to do here. Because I'm at +1 speed, so I might be able to do some decent damage before going down with my Tauros. But Palafin, I mean, as is obvious, is just such a strong Pokemon. Like, you know, it's gonna do a lot of damage to me. He goes Jet Punch though. I think I mean, I should have expected that. It kind of doesn't matter though. No matter what I went into, it would have taken a ton of damage from Jet Punch. I guess I could have gone into something, died, and then gone back into Tauros just to get the Intimidate, you know, by some miracle, and then hope by some miracle that my Wifi can live and kill this Palafin, but obviously that's not going to be the case. So Palafin is an absolute terror on both of our teams. If you couldn't guess at this point, I can't remember if he has a fighting type move. If he does, it's absolutely over now. I do live just by virtue of being so tanky, but there's nothing else I can do at this point. I go for that last ditch bulldoze just to get the speed drop on him. Maybe make things a little bit more even playing field, but it also just doesn't matter because he has Jet Punch, so the speed drop is just not going to matter. But Orthworm, really weak Pokemon from an offensive standpoint, but a really good tank, and I guess I should have given Mind Body Press. I didn't really think of that, but either way, he's got this Palafin against my final Pokemon, which is Wifi. I don't think there's going to be much I can do here. I mean, maybe get lucky with a poison, but this was a fun battle. I ended up getting kind of toasted by his Palafin, and the biggest I ran because I lost so badly. The biggest misplay by me was that Kilowattrel play. If I had just kind of been smarter about that, I could have definitely had a better chance here. Kilowattrel would have really scared off his Palafin, although in all honesty, there's a chance that his Palafin still kills my Kilowattrel, so who knows if it really changed the effect of the battle, or the outcome, I mean. But either way, that was a fun one. We had 2 battles there. I won one of them, lost one of them. Both of them were fun. Yeah, just thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you've been enjoying these videos, let me know in the comments whose team you've been rooting for more, me or Deiter. We do have one more battle in this series, but I'll just post it as a separate video. What we did in that last battle, we called it like an all-star battle. Basically, we brought a few Pokemon from each team. We made a team of 6 from our 4 different teams, and basically our best Pokemon from all the teams, and we brought them all together, and it's going to be a really good battle. I remember it was a great battle. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a great day. Deiter's waving bye to you as well. I'll see you next time.